Merry Christmas, you little jerk, and welcome to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Reviews from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And right below me, right down here, because I can get the angles on here, is our lovely and talented guest for the evening, Miss Nick from the Black Girls Do Stuff 2 podcast. Hey, Nick.
Hi, how are you all? I feel like it's been so long.
I was just going to say, it feels like it's been forever. I think the last thing you did with us...
The big episode.
Independence Day, was it?
It was the big 100 or 200th episode.
Yeah.
We're counting, we're counting that. That's still.
But that's still a while ago. Yeah, the last time I've seen your faces, I think it was Independence Day.
Far too long.
Damn. Yeah, it's been far too long. We need to have you back on more stuff. But our Halloween got all messed up with the Mandalorian, and you just can't keep a good bounty hunter down. So, anyway, as I mentioned, Nick is the host of the Black Girls Do Stuff 2 podcast, which Nick is going to tell us what that's all about if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, so if you have not listened to us, immediately go and do so after this. We are a podcast that really tackles all things pop culture, a lot of movie and TV talk. Just from our perspective, we wanted to open up the doors for ourselves and create our own table since we didn't see ourselves represented too much in conversations.
And you have a phenomenal podcast, and I'm
so
looking forward to what you and Tiff have in store for us this holiday season, because I know we'll get some food out of this, right?
Well, on Twitter, we're going to be very engaged, but I made an announcement today. We're actually taking off until 2021. There's been so many things happening in both of our lives that it's just really hard to podcast right now, but we will be back strong. Like, we already have planned our content. We'll be back strong in January.
Can't wait. I can't wait. But I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come join us tonight on our YouTube channel. Because tonight we are talking about the 1990 Christmas classic with a K, Home Alone. So yeah, this was one Todd felt bad. Our co-host Todd was unable to make it tonight. He kind of felt bad, but he had some stuff coming up because his semester at school is ending. So he wanted to be here. So hopefully we do him proud. And by we, I mean you, Nick, because
okay, it's all on me.
So essentially it's you who's excited about this, Mike, who is like a little about this, and I have my thoughts. So it's going to be a very well-rounded, if anything, it's a well-rounded conversation.
Yes. All right.
So I'm going to kick the question off to you first, Nick. When was the first time you saw Home Alone?
So if it came out in 1990, I saw it in 1990 in the theater with my dad. It actually started me and my dad holiday edition of the movie Christmas. So it's the second movie I remember seeing in the theater. First being Little Mermaid. But this is the first one that I remember I asked to see. Like, I saw the preview on TV. I wanted to see it so badly that he took me on Christmas Day.
No. That's really nice. Mike, how about you? First time?
We probably rented it on VHS. 1990 was still kind of before. It was right before that. My parents finally started letting us go to movies again.
Okay.
So we probably rented this on VHS and watched it. And I do remember loving it at the time.
Okay. I also saw it in the theater. This was back in a time when movies would sell out. Like, if you didn't go, because they didn't do them in multiple screens, even for a movie that was as big of a hit as Home Alone, I figured I could just go to Lowe's Cinema and go watch it. And it was like, it's sold out. Like, what do you mean it's sold out? It's a 1 o'clock, it's a 1 in the afternoon matinee. How is it sold out? Oh, it's a weekend. That's right. So I actually ended up going to see Rescuers Down Under the first time I tried to go see.
Not a bad second choice.
No,
right? That's so good.
I guess it's not. But then, the following weekend, I did finally get to see Home Alone. And to me, it was one of those movies I enjoyed very much the first time. And I'm just going to put it out right now. I could have probably left it at that. and it might have something to do with age. It might have something to do with I was just starting college when this movie came out, so the film snobbery that happens when you go not only to college but when you're going to study film is pretty intense. So it might just be old biases that I have sitting in there. But we're going to discuss that. I'm also going to talk about ways that you could have made the movie better.
Okay.
But let's discuss. So pretty much everybody would.
The sequel completely ruined it.
We're watching the sequel right now in parts because Disney Plus has the first 3 Home Alone movies.
Mm-hmm.
They just came on a few weeks ago on Disney Plus, and we watched the first one with the kids. My son loves this movie. He was all the second Kevin rolls out like the diagram of everything he's going to do to those 2 idiots. He is just yes, and he's jumping around. It's amazing, like how mature my son can be. But my son is also only 7, and I forget that he's a very small child. So it's really funny watching like this little elf jumping around, getting all excited about this. Mike knows exactly what I'm talking about. Getting all excited about just the sheer deviousness of Kevin's plan of hurting, maiming, and maybe even killing Harry and Marv. And then we started watching Home Alone 2, which is a shot-for-shot remake of Home Alone 1.
Yeah.
That Kevin, not Macaulay Culkin, but Kevin is essentially acting like he anchored the highest grossing comedy film to that point. It's like his attitude is like, yeah, what are you going to do? I was in Home Alone. No, Kevin. Macaulay Culkin was in Home Alone. You're Kevin McAllister, youngest of 5 children. And again, I always joke that the most unbelievable part of that entire movie is that Donald Trump would have ever stopped to help a child out. So,
right.
But back to Home Alone 1. Nick, you're our guest. I'm going to start with you. What works about this movie? What as it is now a 30-year-old movie, what is it about this movie that you love?
So I do think that a lot of it for me is nostalgia. Because it is such like a first, it's like one of my first memories of movies,
Mm-hmm.
So like it's gonna hold a special place in my heart. Like I remember Christmas Day, we opened up the presents. We were in North Carolina at my grandmother's house, and I just kept saying, "I want to see Home Alone. I want to see Home Alone." And my dad's like, "Let's go to the movies." And no one was there at the theater. My mom's from a small town in North Carolina, so no one was at the theater. We went, we had the whole theater to ourselves, and it was just like a really big moment. So I always remember that. So that influences me. But even when I watched it today, like I had some moments where I like legit laughed, and I was like, okay, like it's still, I mean, granted, there are some things when I watch it, I'm like, I would have been on Kevin's side when I was a kid. Now I was like, Kevin, you're being a little jerk. Like your uncle was completely wrong, you know what I mean? But also the family was like terrible too. Like everybody in Home Alone is terrible. Like that,
oh, yeah.
So what works for me, I think really is like the fantasy of a kid just being left alone, right? And there's something he thought he wanted. And for a day or a couple of days, he gets to do whatever he wants, right? But then he has to really face reality and be like, oh my God, I have to do laundry, which let's be honest, there's some people my age who can't do laundry. So, grocery shop. And I think the part that made me laugh out loud was him walking home with the grocery bags and then they like break as he's there, and he's just like exasperated because it's such like an old person thing that happened to a kid. So I think it's like those like little moments that I notice now as an adult that makes it still work for me.
Okay. All right. Fair. That's fair. Mike, what do you like about this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Nick. I mean, I still do think that there are several like very entertaining moments of this movie. And I'm not gonna lie, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern's interactions, I mean, they're just so stupid. Like, how are these people criminals, and then how haven't they been caught like 5 million times? I mean, they are beyond stupid. But just I mean, maybe it's a Three Stooges fan of me, but just the sheer stupidity of them just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
And like Nick said, there really are no likable characters. I mean, the only likable character really is the old guy with shovel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what though, Mike? I'm gonna just throw this out here. I don't think that the mom was in the wrong one bit.
No.
Because as a dad, I'm one of those. If my child told me that I wish I never had a family, yeah, okay, I'd be rightfully mad.
I mean,
she is her first instinct is to get back to him. That is her first instinct.
Yeah.
It's not her fault that the neighborhood kid conveniently shows up at the most opportune of moments.
I mean, plus it's Catherine O'Hara, so.
Well, it's Catherine O'Hara. You do not love Catherine O'Hara.
And I do, but she was definitely wrong.
This movie better is if she did her Moira Rose voice. I would be so much better.
I do think that there is a moment at the beginning where they are clearly being unfair to Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
But then Kevin starts being like a little shit, so then then it's completely justified. But before that, he is clearly being put upon quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Buzz.
Buzz is a dick.
Oh my god,
he was so bad. But like legit, and I don't have kids. I only have my nieces, who you guys have heard before in the background. Yeah, kind of
indirectly.
So I have a niece. I have one who's 10, and she has her attitude all of her own. And then I have like the 2-year-old who also has attitude all of her own. And when they're acting up and things, people want to get on them. I don't think if I had my brother there, my brother-in-law, whoever, I don't think that it'd be okay for him to just be like, Kevin, you little jerk. And then everybody else being like, you're in pain, you're this, you're that. And I'd be like, hold on, y'all need to back off of my kid. Okay. Like,
right.
But then it was just like, everybody was just kind of like, you're this, you're that. And the parents were like, well, you got to go to your room up in the attic. Actually, not your room. We're just going to put you in the attic. That whole scene, like, that's where I think the parents were wrong right there, is that they were just like, all right, everybody get your licks in. Then we're going to put him in the attic by himself and never check on him for the rest of the time. So,
yeah. You know who Buzz reminds me of? Chet from Weird Science.
All right. Let me point out something that kind of bothers me about this movie, among
John Hughes?
many things, but also is just like I kept noticing this, is that John Hughes, who honestly I think has more to do with this movie than Christopher Columbus, the director, does. John Hughes has a type. He has a very specific type of character that he casts. So from a character like Buzz, who is very much Chet from Weird Science, another John Hughes movie, to even like the cashier at the grocery store is very much part of that Shermer, Illinois type of John Hughes character. You could take her and make her the cashier in 16 Candles or The Breakfast Club or Ferris Bueller or even Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. She fits within like these people. Mm-hmm. So, I can see where you're coming from on that, Mike, with Chet being like that. The picture of Chet's girlfriend, which, by the way, also was a boy. No, they did that because they thought it would be cruel to actually, make fun of a heavy set child. Mm-hmm. So they just put a wig on a boy and just put him in that picture just so they could get the laugh out of it.
Fair.
But that's your girlfriend. Woof. Going back to, Mike, what you were saying about Harry and Marv. First of all, this was the year that Joe Pesci won an Oscar for Goodfellas, which I had seen a month maybe before Home Alone came out. So I had seen him beat a man to death a month before, and now he's doing this movie, and I'm like, oh no, Kevin's dead. Bury Kevin. They're gonna have to just exhume his body where they built condos where they buried him. Oh, What else do you like about this movie? Because I'm about ready to overload.
I mean, like I said, I like the nostalgia. I like the whimsy of it. Like we all know, like this kid is not gonna. You're not gonna put ornaments on a 2-foot window and someone's not going to see them before they step on them barefoot. It's not going to happen. However, it's just like a funny thing. And like half the stuff he did would have killed people. Like when the fire hits his head and like he would have been like out. Like
and the paint cans into the face.
Yeah.
Right. Like paint cans into the face.
That's
like
concussion right there.
Cutting the cord when they were trying to get to the treehouse and him them hitting the wall, like all that stuff is too much and it wouldn't have happened. But there's something about just like that whimsy of like this kid beating these two adults and like the dynamite part in the pot, like he couldn't tell it was a movie or like pre-recorded, but it's still hilarious that he gets like so worked up about it, you know?
So I know I've told this story 1,000 times on our podcast, so Mike already knows this story. Nick, you might not know this story though. So, Mike, Nick, grab your drinks because we're talking Suncoast right now. I'm going to get my drink in right now. So, when I was working at Suncoast, one Christmas, a woman comes up asking if she could order the movie from Home Alone. And I'm like, you want Home Alone? She's like, no. What's that movie with the change of filthy animal? I'm like, Angels with Filthy Souls? Yeah, that one. Man, that movie doesn't exist. And she looks at me with this disbelief in her eyes. And she's like, what do you mean it doesn't exist? Like, ma'am, it's a plot contrivance that's built to forward the story and give Kevin an excuse to essentially stiff the kid on pizza and also to scare away the burglars. And she's like, but why did the people from Blockbuster send me here?
That's called throwing you under the bus.
Oh poor lady.
Oh,
poor lady.
God,
yeah. She just wanted to see the movie.
But it's one of those things that if you're just sitting, you watch it, you're like, of course it's just there for the convenience of the movie. And another thing too, and my son, I'm so proud of my son because he repeated what I said about Home Alone 1 when we're watching Home Alone 2. Why is it when is it Bugs?
Buzz?
Is it no, not Buzz, the old guy. The old guy in the movie Angel with Filthy Souls.
If you hadn't asked me, because I just watched it.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember.
I want to say I don't know it might be Bugs because Johnny is the guy she shoots in the first movie.
Yeah.
And when he does it, he's got his Tommy gun. Why is it every movie when someone's shooting a Tommy gun? Dick Tracy does this too. When they're shooting the Tommy gun, first of all, it's just this wild, like, just spray of bullets. And they have to laugh. What's that?
Snakes.
Yeah, snakes. Yes. I was like, oh, I just heard
it. He says, I was like, why are you laughing like a loon? Is that like a thing that people do with Tommy gun? Is it like, oh, I've got this perfectly reasonable, powerful rifle.
Maybe it came from somewhere because everyone does it. Like, I don't think that there's ever a time that me and my brother and sister were playing and didn't do like that move and like laugh about it.
But then when you watch other movies like Dick Tracy, it's like it's got this wild spray, but they can also like use it to write things, like shoot words into the wall. Like, come on, boy, Tracy.
I blame the gangster movies of the 30s.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike.
Can I tell you something that honestly would have made this movie a whole lot better?
Yeah.
And this is based on Kevin's reaction throughout the entire movie. I think this movie would be better if there was a camera crew inside the McAllister house and the only person who could see them was Kevin. Because that kid does so much fourth wall breaking for no reason whatsoever. It's just all of his reactions are to you, the audience member. They're not to... He's not talking to himself because we all talk to ourselves. We know what that sounds like. I don't look to the side after I say something and then,
Hey, when he's like screaming, running through the house, he goes right to the camera and then turns on and runs away. He's like, Did he just do that to the wall or to the window or what?
Oh, but
Yeah.
you guys can't blame Kevin. It's the director.
No,
It's
that's
his
fair.
fault. It's
That
his
is fair.
fault. You know,
Yeah,
Kevin's just existing in the world that he was put in.
Chris Columbus
That's-
isn't a great director.
He is not, or he is?
He is not.
I have to disagree with that vehemently.
Really?
I think Chris Columbus is he's not an Uwe Boll type of director. He is
No.
competent director.
Yeah,
But-
I'm thinking he's an adequate director. I don't think he's a good director. He's an adequate director.
Okay. I'm sorry, did I miss something then? And
No, I never say he was a bad director.
All right.
I just say he's not a good director.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. I was gonna say, I mean, he did he did the worst 2 Harry Potter movies.
Hmm.
In terms of overall filmmaking. He did Rent. He did a PG-13 Rent, where all the cast members were the original Broadway cast, but now they're in their mid-30s. At that point, it's just whining.
And you know how he got this movie made, right?
No, how did he get this movie made?
Well, he went to the producers and said, "Oh yeah, I've got John Candy for this movie." They're like, "Okay, yeah." And then he went over to John Candy, like, "Can you do a couple days in my movie, please?"
Oh,
He's like,
really?
"All right, sure." Yeah.
Wow.
He convinced them with John Candy, and then he got John Candy.
I find that very interesting.
And he got John Candy for like 2 days, I think, because of John Hughes.
Okay.
Because John Hughes did Uncle Buck.
All right. And I actually enjoyed John Candy's piece in this, and it's all improvised. Apparently, it was 100% improvised.
Okay, well, I mean, it's John Candy.
I didn't know that though.
I love John
I
Candy.
didn't know. Can we talk about a character that I don't like though? I don't
Yeah,
like
go
the
ahead.
uncle. I don't like the uncle.
Oh no, the uncle is horrible.
I
Oh,
think he's the absolute worst person in this movie. From the time he enters the screen.
If my uncle had said those things to me when I was a kid, my parents would have cut him out of my life completely.
Vacation's over at that point. I don't care if
Yeah.
it started yet. You talk that way to my kid as I am paying for your flight to France?
Right.
You're
Like, you
out.
wouldn't pay for the pizzas. You compare leaving the kid to leaving your reading glasses. Like, as soon as he gets on the plane, he's like, "Oh, can I have champagne? It's free, right?" Like, he's just the worst. He's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane to me. It's insane. And that his wife is just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
she probably just is a sponge soaking up all the verbal abuse that he
I think
heaps on
so.
his kids, like Fuller. Which is I just watched Succession recently. Nick, have you seen Succession?
Yes.
How weird is it to see Kieran Culkin, Fuller wets the bed as a grown ass man?
Well, I think it's always because they look so much alike anyway. I think it's always weird to see any of them as adults. You know what I mean? Like,
The funny thing is, now that we're 30 years removed, Kieran was the actual talent of that family.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Yeah. He's been in the
adult-
most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been in good stuff.
Mhm.
But I'm thinking about, have you seen adult Macaulay Culkin act?
Actually, no. I haven't.
All right.
The only thing I've seen him act in is I've heard him act in Robot Chicken. That's what
Okay.
What is he playing as an adult? What has he been in?
All right. So there was a movie that came out. This movie's about
I
15
know
years
which one
old
you're going to
now,
mention too.
called Party Monster.
Mhm.
And it's got Seth Green in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bad. It's like, I saw this and I'm just like, he's terrible. This is why once he grew up, he couldn't maintain a career outside of just playing, privileged kids. Like, when he did big blockbusters, blockbusters being the operative term here.
Right.
Richie Rich and The Page Master. He tried doing The Good Son,
I
and
love
nobody
that movie,
bought him
though.
as being evil.
But I also think because he hit the ground running so young on that, like such an iconic role, if you want to call it iconic,
Yeah.
it's really hard for people to get him out of the frame of Kevin McAllister.
Right.
Even when he like made his comeback in that commercial that they did, where he pretty much was a grown-up Kevin McAllister doing the same things as he did in Home Alone. I can't remember what the commercial was for, but you know, because that's how everyone sees him. They just always see him as that. And then, you know, to his own, like to put some onus on him, if he's not good now, it has to be he just didn't continue to work on his craft, you know, which,
yeah. Well, I know,
you know, you can't coast.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's never been confirmed, but it's always been kind of in the ether that he had some substance abuse problems, which, coupled with the fact that their dad was a monster.
That's what I remember reading about their father.
Kit Culkin, because all the kids had to act, and they were all being kind of compared to one another. Much like the kids in Succession, if you really want to get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
This is our Succession podcast. And it's just like Karen did good stuff. I mean, Karen was in Igby Goes Down. Karen was in Scott Pilgrim.
Mm-hmm.
And he's amazing in Succession. He really is.
So good. He was a standout in Scott Pilgrim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But when you see him as Fuller Wets the Bed, because that really should be his entire character name, Fuller Wets the Bed. It's weird because you can kind of see it because the Culkins all look alike.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But it wasn't until I watched it today that I noticed that was him, because I never paid attention before, and as soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's him. That's his little brother." Or
there was another Culkin in
right?
Signs, the M. Night Shyamalan movie Signs, and I don't remember.
That was him.
Was that him?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't see him. I'm looking that up right now because
I gotta.
Please don't mention that stupid ass movie.
Stop it! I love Swing Away. You stop it right now, Mike.
The aliens decide to invade a planet that is 70% poisonous.
Look, okay, it was the only one available
until the invasion stopped.
Look, okay, they needed to be here for whatever reason. I already tweeted about this. You guys already know how I feel about aliens invading Earth. Like, it's so terrible here. Like, I don't know why they would come here. Like, the Earth is gonna just like implode in like 5 years anyway. So why would they come here? I don't know.
It was Rory Culkin.
Oh, it was Rory. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Abigail Breslin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do remember it was her. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Because I feel like that was the first thing maybe I saw her in was Signs.
Okay. So I was looking at her name, and I mistook her for one of the Fannings, like Elle Fanning, who's on The Great.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all these kids that actually grew up and had great careers afterwards.
Yeah, the ones who were really good. Yeah.
So here's another thing too, and you know this is going to sound controversial, but it is a fact of the movie.
Okay.
There's not, even in the background, not one single person of color in this entire movie.
No, that's a lie. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
The gate,
okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
The gate agent, when they get there late, is the black woman.
One.
Okay. But that's more than Friends had until like the final season. So that's like.
All right, fine.
But yeah, just one though.
It was just a misstatement on my point. I really wasn't trying to deliberately. Come on, Nick, you know me better than that.
No, I didn't mean like a malicious lie. Just like there was only one, and it was only one, and it was the gate. It was the gatekeeper. When she's like,
your shirt, Mike. There was no princess, only Zool.
I love that shirt so much. I love your shirt.
I think that was a Christmas gift, right, Mike?
No, I ordered this a few months ago.
Oh, okay. Oh no, I got you the other Ghostbusters shirt that was Donkey Kong themed.
Yeah. Oh,
around there somewhere. I need to pull it out, but
all right. I love it. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. Now, would we all agree also this movie doesn't happen if cell phones existed?
No. Oh, absolutely not. I mean, even with landlines, it's hard to believe, like, you don't have, back in the day, like, people had their neighbors' numbers. So like, okay, your phone's not working, but like you don't know anybody
Right.
anywhere who can go and check on your kid. Like,
let's also talk too about the fact that they live in an affluent neighborhood. They live in a very affluent neighborhood. You don't think that Karen at 36 and Karen at 52, that they are going to not complain that their phones are out on the week of
right.
Christmas?
I mean, not just that, but I mean, it's an affluent neighborhood, and you call the cops, and the cops not once until they got called at the end came to Kevin's house. So, like,
Well, they did that one thing where
This is
like
like
they
a
showed up,
drive-by,
knocked
right?
on the door, and then
Right.
tell them to count their kids again.
right. But you know what I mean? Like, they called the police, like, once they landed in Paris, and the police were supposed to call them back. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's an affluent, like you said, it's an affluent neighborhood, and things work a lot differently in affluent neighborhoods than they do if this was like in the inner city somewhere.
Exactly.
And if he was home alone, you know?
The suburbs of Chicago versus Chicago.
Right. Exactly. Completely different stories right there.
Yeah. What are you doing in France in the first place, huh?
And that little kid, like, can we talk about how he's the real villain of this movie? Like the neighbor kid. He
Yeah.
is the villain of this movie. Like, he's so nosy. And he comes over and he's the reason the count gets messed up. Like, really, it's all his fault. Everything's his fault. After the parents locked him in the attic, it's like the kid next door's fault.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out, too, why didn't he actually... Because he was going to sleep up there anyway. Why didn't they put Fuller Wets the bed up there with him anyway?
Where did he end up sleeping?
Where did Fuller Wets the bed end up sleeping?
In the basement.
with
With all the mannequins.
in the furnace.
What kind of sick bastards keep that many mannequins laying around the house?
Yeah, I mean, why do they have a whole squad of mannequins?
I don't want to know what Peter McAllister does for work. I mean, he makes bank, obviously.
Maybe he owns a department store and keeps all the spares mannequins in his house.
Yeah.
The mannequins.
It's not like they're using them so the wife can make clothes with them or anything, you know?
You don't need that many for that.
No.
You only need that many for later on in the story when you have to fake a party. That's why they have so many mannequins in the house.
Master of Puppets. Because he does it again in Home Alone 2 with the Bozo blow up, you know, to frighten off Frank Enfurter. So
housekeeping.
The weirdest thing about that movie, and I'm talking about 2 right now, is just they really try to capitalize on like the immediate success Rob Schneider had on SNL. Playing I think his name was like the Robster or something like that, where he would just elongate people's names and be obnoxious about it. That's the only reason I think he was in that movie. And he didn't even get to do that. He just got to be put upon, and you know, with his early 90s Katie Lang hair. And
right.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with that one. Overall, it's weird because I don't have a soft spot for this movie, but I don't find offense when people put it on. There were certain, full disclosure here, okay, up until a couple of years ago, neither of my children had any knowledge of the existence of the Jim Carrey Grinch.
I've never seen it.
I kept it from them. I just kept the existence. I didn't want them asking me for it. So I kept the existence from them. It is dog shit.
I've never seen it because I actually am kind of afraid of him in that costume. And I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I don't want to dream about it. Watching it would be fine, but if I dream about it, it's going to be bad.
Yeah. And I was having a conversation with somebody today about this too, that the weird thing is, as we're completely off topic now, that nobody in these subsequent versions of the Grinch ever go through the Chuck Jones version of the Grinch cartoon, just the subdued grouch.
Mm-hmm.
They all are like minor league emulations of the Jim Carrey Grinch, like the Illumination movie with Benedict Cumberbatch, and then this new one, the NBC Live version with Matthew Morrison.
No.
Did that already come on?
I don't know. No, actually, I don't believe it's on yet. I think it's like in the middle of this month, only because Twitter will be blowing up.
I didn't even realize it was a thing. I didn't realize it was a thing until I saw something on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade about it. I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
I feel like that's when everybody kind of found out about it, was Macy's Day Parade, because they did a lot of promotion about it. And I'm like, you guys are talking about Matthew Morrison a lot, and like Patti LaBelle's performing. And I feel like your efforts are being put to the wrong person, but whatever. So
yeah. I saw Patti LaBelle. I'm like, she's aged amazingly.
Mm-hmm. She has. She still wears long nails and high heels, and I live
in her mid 70s, I think, and she just looks fantastic.
She can still belt out a tune.
She can.
Yeah, well, it's also the Macy's Parade, so I don't know if she was literally singing live or not.
Yeah. I don't think anybody was.
No, they weren't.
But she can.
Oh yeah, she absolutely can. There was one of the Broadway groups that. Oh, it was Jagged Little Pill. They sang live.
Okay.
Really? Because when I saw that, I was like the only group I saw, and I was like, it looks like they're lip syncing.
It was portions of it were live. I don't think the whole. I don't think the chorus parts were live, but the openings were live because they sounded like they were stumbling a little bit because they've been off for 9 months. So.
Yeah.
Oh, God, Broadway. Art can't come back soon enough.
But I just don't know how. Like, I do appreciate the fact that you don't like it, but you don't mind when it's on. Like, I appreciate you don't mind. Like, if we were all chilling, I could put it on and you wouldn't mind.
If I was hanging out with you and we're having some eggnog, dump some rum, or some Cafe Patron, by the way.
Yes, with ginger snaps.
Yeah, the ginger snaps. Was not able to make those though. It got vetoed in favor of a different chocolate pie. So I'm gonna go rogue and make it anyway at some point this holiday season. So I'm looking forward to it. I did, however, make gingerbread waffles the other day. They were delicious. But
that sounds amazing.
But yeah, if you're like, hey, let's watch Home Alone, I would be like, fine. Don't expect me not to make fun of it the entire time, but I'll watch it. It's not like.
Thing is,
but it's funny. So my mom hates it. My mom also hates Home Alone. So
okay,
yeah, and my dad is more like Mike. He's pretty indifferent to it either way. But I enjoy it. And then my brother and sister, I actually don't know how they feel about. I don't remember this really being one that they watched.
Right.
So but as far as like. My mom and dad, they're very much you guys. So you guys are basically my parents today.
Oh, okay. Awesome. It's an honor. What do you got? Oh, dear. The thing is also, and I think part of the reason why it doesn't just sit with me as well is mainly because as an adult, my sister was a sophomore in high school when this movie came out. So we didn't grow up with this.
Okay.
This wasn't, when I go back and I think about the Christmas movies I watched as a kid, we watched Scrooge an awful lot, the Albert Finney musical, which I just watched again for the first time in like 20 years a couple of weeks ago. We had that. We had A Christmas Story, which is still brilliant. Even like stuff like Christmas Vacation, we had that. I mean, I love Elf, but that's just because it really talks more to my adult side and my love of Christmas in general than it does as like I could have easily gotten nostalgic about this movie had it come out in the 80s. Mm-hmm. My kids do the mailroom dance all the damn time during Christmas.
That's so cute.
Oh, it's adorable. In fact, my status right now in my Slack at work is Serpent Coffee. Why didn't I think of that? I just want to see who gets that reference. But yeah, I think it's just because this movie came out as I was already out of high school. I was, on my way to adulthood.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there for me the same way that, like, Christmas Story. Christmas Story might be my all-time favorite Christmas movie because it was there for me as a kid. It was always there every Christmas, even when, you know, we got like that free weekend of HBO, and I recorded it and I watched it every Christmas since, and I could recite, I could walk through the full hour 46 minutes of A Christmas Story just by myself.
Mm-hmm.
In with every inflection and all that. So yeah, I totally. But I can definitely see why people, especially people of your generation, Nick, who love that movie because it was there. You were a little girl when that movie came out. It's like, yeah, it's part of the Christmas tradition. Like Rudolph is.
I mean,
I don't like claymation. I don't like the claymation movies. I hate those things. The only thing I like is the little elf who doesn't feel like working because I relate to him as an adult. But other than that, like, I do not like the claymation movies at all. Like, my dad and mom love them, and they'll turn them on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate this so much.
But just like going back to Home Alone, one thing that you know, like I said, it doesn't offend me. I think there's still some enjoyable parts about it, and I like it how it kind of ends with like Kevin like learning a lesson, like don't judge a book by the cover, and then that's completely destroyed by Home Alone 2, where he's like, oh no, that old woman's creepy. Let's ignore her. Let's run away from her.
First movie.
Everything you learned in the first movie, you've completely gotten rid of in the second movie. So thank you, Chris Columbus, for completely destroying your first movie. Thank you.
I mean, I get it. He learned a lesson about the old guy and not to judge a book by its cover. But I'm going to be honest. If I saw a lady hanging out with pigeons, I would judge her too. I don't care what I just went through. It's scary. Pigeons are scary and they peck your eyes out. I saw it in a movie when I was a little kid called The Birds. And I don't trust anybody who gets along with birds.
There were no pigeons in The Birds.
Oh, yes. They're all seagulls.
Yeah.
but no, to your point, yeah, it does get a little muddy in Home Alone 2, but I think Home Alone 1 as it stands, like Andy said, for me, in 1990 I'd have been 4. So, for it to start a tradition with my dad and then also be a movie that is still entertaining for me as an adult, like can still make me laugh in 2020. It's something that I enjoy. And as unrealistic as it is now, there's other things that I'll like find funny in the movie that I maybe didn't find funny when I was a kid, and vice versa. Some of the like the classic iconic aftershave scene is hilarious as a kid, and then you're like, wait, he didn't actually cut his face. Like, why is it burned? So just different things like that. But I still am team Home Alone for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I was just thinking, but the whole thing with the pigeon lady at Home Alone 2, it's just the entitled white prick in Kevin coming out,
I just think he might have been afraid of birds. I think he just might have been afraid of birds.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that he's like, birds.
Yeah,
they're scary. They used to be dinosaurs.
Yep.
I had a dinosaur soup last night. It was so delicious.
I know. I really do feel, Mike, to your point, I do feel like Jurassic Park is 20 times scarier if you give the dinosaurs feathers. Like, that's it. I think that's the greatest takeaway from this whole episode. Give dinosaurs feathers and they become scarier.
Oh, absolutely. Because the feathers fly. When they're like, tearing up Dennis Nedry, and there's like... I think that'd be awesome.
Dandruff.
I don't actually look at myself in the mirror when I do these things. I just do them here, so I'm experimenting on my freeform comedy here.
I love it. Please give us more.
Yeah. So, we have anything else to say about Home Alone, or I think we can take this home alone. Again, it's fine. It's fine. It's not. There are offensive Christmas movies out there in terms of how saccharine they can be and how just heartwarming they can be. This is not one of those movies. This. Excuse me, Mike.
I didn't say anything.
Oh my goodness.
What did he say? I missed it.
Said It's a Wonderful Life.
But you don't like It's a Wonderful Life?
I love It's a Wonderful Life. It took me a long time to come to that realization that I love It's a Wonderful Life.
My brother hates it. My brother loves it.
Oh.
I hate it.
So what does it feel like to not have a heart?
Oh, I have a heart. It just doesn't rest with It's a Wonderful Life because it's a horrible life.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I also hate Wizard of Oz though. So.
Okay. Yeah. Mike's not. I mean, Mike has his list of classic movies he loves. I guess was classic movies he hates.
I would say I don't love It's a Wonderful Life, but The Wizard of Oz, like those are fighting words, Mike. And we're usually here. Like that's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
We're usually
give me Return to Oz any day over Wizard of Oz.
Okay, that's fair. Let me see. My final thoughts on Home Alone. I think that it's still a great movie to throw into your holiday season mix. I think, especially if you're one of those people who likes to watch a Christmas movie a day for December, like people do on Twitter. I think that this is one of the ones that's really good for that because it just does hit a soft spot. And as you grow and like your perspective changes, you identify with different characters differently, you know? So like as a kid, I was straight up Kevin, like they're so unfair to Kevin and he didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, they did pile on, but he was a little jerk too, you know? So like, and then you start relating to other people. Like now at this age, I'm pretty much the old guy next door. Like, let me be creepy so that you stay off my yard. And that's what it is, you know? So
let me continue to salt the sidewalk.
And I can wield a mean shovel.
Like any of that stuff, you know? So I definitely think it's worth a watch, especially, I mean, I can't imagine anybody hasn't seen it, but if you haven't, definitely watch it. And yeah, I still like it. I still like Home Alone. It's still one of my favorites.
All right. Mike, by the way, that shovel, as a homeowner, that shovel is wildly ineffective to pick
it's
up
so
ice
flimsy, right?
Yeah, because like it should have like a metal like edge on the end.
It also should have a curve. That thing is flat.
I've used
There's
shovels
no
like
degrees
that.
on that thing. It's a flat piece of metal.
Yeah, I've used shovels like that. It works not well though. I mean, as something to salt the sidewalk, it's fine.
Yeah.
As something to like dig up snow and ice, no.
It's a handled plastic cup to sprinkle salt all over the ground.
But that's not as effective. That's not as effective against burglars, though.
No, it's not. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. Even though hucking like ice melt in their eyes, probably might have even been more effective.
Yeah, but then that'd be a chemical weaponry.
So I have a question for you before we end this thing.
Yeah.
Did Home Alone Kevin die if it was in a warm weather?
You totally broke up when you're asking that question. Can you start that question again?
I said, does Kevin die in the end of the movie if it's in a warm weather place instead of Chicago?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it depends on where it is because, I mean, I'm sure that there are suburbs of every, affluent suburbs of every warm weather area too.
But I just mean because like some of his tricks depended on freezing water for the ice, the shovel at the end with the guy, things like that. So.
Rapidly freezing water, by the way. Water doesn't freeze that fast outside, even on a cold day. I mean, those would have to be, based on what he was wearing, like for the coat and the hat, he would have to be way more bundled up to deal with an actual Chicago winter.
To be fair, though, if it was happening in the summer, Harry and Marv would have had a lot less time to do it because it would have been daylight a lot more.
Yeah.
And Kevin probably would have had more time to plan and set things up. So I think it could have made something work.
Okay. Right. I like that. Right. I like that. Kevin lives.
Yes. I think Kevin would still
Kevin lives.
He might be missing some fingers and might not be able to have kids, but he would definitely live. To the death? No. To the pain.
Like that.
So, Mike, any final thoughts on Home Alone before we wrap this up?
Yeah, it's a fun movie, and I don't know, if we decide to make a top 12 Christmas movie list or something like that, it might find its way on there sometime. I don't know, just theorizing.
Don't give it away, Mike.
I'm just theorizing. You're giving everything away.
Not giving anything away.
Theorize with me, all right?
Oh my God, it's like my son finding out what I got my wife for Christmas. He's like, "What'd you get her?" And I told her, it's like, if she tells me that she knows, I'll know where it came from.
Just theorizing.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, so that won't be our next Christmas episode, though, because our next Christmas episode, which we're recording next week, on our actual podcast that Mike and I host, along with Todd, who cannot make it tonight, and a few other folks like Catherine and Joe. We are going to be talking about our favorite geeky Christmas songs.
Ooh,
so
that's so good.
We're going to be looking for some Twitter feedback on another aspect of that, which will be read on the show, Nick. So I will pass that on to you, because I know you
let me know.
Get in on that.
I have one song that I know won't make the list, but it's my favorite Christmas song because I love sad music, and it's Every Year, Every Christmas by Luther Vandross. It's the saddest Christmas song I can think of, and I love it so much.
Well, considering that every time I picture Luther Vandross singing, I feel like he's crying like wells of tears. Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be wicked sad.
Really? I don't know. For me, Luther Vandross is just, that voice is silky smooth.
He's got a silky smooth voice. No, but every time, like, he's...
Mike, can you do that again?
Silky smooth.
I don't know, so we're just both repeating our own things here. So that'll be our Christmas episode, which comes out next week, because we're going to get editing and get that thing out, because we got 2 Christmas episodes coming up this year, because 2020, you've earned it.
Who knows what the second episode's about? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I have no idea. No way we'd spoil that one, right?
Nah. Nobody theorizing anyway.
Nick's giving a side eye right now. You're setting off those serious Kamala Harris at the debates type of side eye right now, girl. So.
I'm speaking.
So, Nick, tell everybody where they can find you and all of your wit and intellect.
Yes, so if you want to listen to Black Girls Do Stuff 2 episodes, we are everywhere that podcasts are. As I mentioned earlier, there will be no new episodes for the rest of 2020, but there's plenty to fall back on. You can also connect with us on Twitter. We're BLK Girls Do Stuff. That's where we're most active. We're also on Instagram, YouTube, and Tumblr as Black Girls Do Stuff 2. You can connect with me at Lizzie Angel.
Yeah. Check out our food blog, too, because even though I didn't make that ginger snap pie recipe, I did share it on my work share recipe drive.
Thank you.
Maybe somebody made it.
Thank you.
So yeah, and Mike and I can be found on our podcast Geek Salad, which is everywhere you get your podcast. So if you're listening to Black Girls Do Stuff 2, you can find us there as well. We're also here at YouTube, where we produce separate but equal content, giving you movie reviews. And starting in 2021, we are going to start album reviews. So spearheaded by me and occasional co-host Jim, and bringing on people maybe like Mike, maybe like Joe, maybe like Nick. I know Todd was going to get in on it, because we're going to be talking about records. That's coming in 2021 on the channel. Awesome. I'm really looking forward to that, because just got a turntable and I can't shut up about it now.
I don't have records, but I have these nifty new things called CDs.
Nice little Scott Pilgrim drop there too, especially because we just already discussed that.
Also,
Buffy.
Yes.
Nice. So,
and of course,
we're also most active on. Of course. We're also most active on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio, but we're also on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. Just like with Nick, you can find us wherever your podcasts are. don't forget, we love when you tell people about Geek Salad. So, like this video, subscribe, share this video as well, especially if you're a fan of Home Alone. I feel like we were fair about this one. I didn't totally tear it apart. Nick's love brought us in
over a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. No. You're the calming presence on this right now. So can't wait to hear how we're going to talk about Miracle on 34th Street next week. So, and I think Tom from the Movies After Work podcast will be joining us for that one. Hopefully his schedule. And if Nick, if you want to watch that, it's on Disney Plus. You could join us as well. We'd love to have you again.
It's on Disney Plus. I'll check it out. I will
The
watch
classic
it.
original.
Every year I keep
the
saying I'm
original
gonna
one.
watch it. So
not the 94 version, the 47 version. It
Okay.
is a beautiful. It is a wonderful movie, nigh on perfect movie, and it's not even my
Okay.
favorite movie, but it's a perfect.
But
it
it's
may
close.
be a perfect movie.
It's a wonderful movie.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful and.